I love you forever. I like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby, you're gonna be. Let me take you back to New Zealand, Auckland, where a couple had been married for 5 years. They wanted to have a kid really, really badly. They were deeply in love, but for some reason, they missed that vital element in life, which is the presence of a kid, that joy. 5 years into their marriage, the woman found out that she was pregnant. The same month, the husband passed away in an accident. But the woman kept on. She said, "You're not here with me, but regardless of where you are, I love you forever." She went to the hospital every month out of those 9 months because she loved what was inside her. She went to the hospital and she had a very difficult pregnancy. But at the end of the day, when she heard that boy screaming and crying and wailing, and this red creature that came out, and when she held him for the first time in her hands, she realized that this was the most beautiful thing that she had ever seen in her life. When she took her finger and tried to hold the baby's hand, the baby in return held her finger in her tiny little hands. And that was the moment when the mother saw the kid and said, "I love you forever. As long as I'm living, my baby you will be." The kid grew up. He was 2 years old now. He started crawling, he was a toddler, and of course, the kid was a mess for the mom. He started throwing books off the shelf. He took the mother's watch, threw it down the wash basin. He took all the shelves, all the books, threw them out, took the dishes, threw them out. And the mom was like, "I'm going crazy about this kid. I should give him to the zoo." But then, at night, when the toddler used to be sleeping in his cot, the mother used to go to the boy and the toddler and say, "My dear sweetheart, I know you don't have a dad. I love you forever. As long as I'm living, my baby you will be." The boy grew up. He became 9 years old. He was a mess. He used to have weird friends. He didn't used to wash his hand when he used to come for dinner. He used to say all kinds of bad words when grandmother used to come over. And the mother was furious. What do I do with this kid? And she actually felt like giving him to the zoo. But again, when everything was said and done, the mother would go to the room. She would tiptoe in, and when the boy was really, really sleepy, she would hold him, rock him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and say, "I love you forever. I like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you will be." The kid grew up again faster and faster and faster, and the time just went on and on and on. And the baby was now 16 years old. And he used to listen all kinds of pop music. He used to have really, really weird friends. He used to had a very bad taste in music, but the mom kept up with it. And she actually felt at times that maybe I am in a zoo. But at the end of the day, when everything was said and done, she realized, she went to this kid who probably didn't want her in his room for the longest of time, and she used to say, "Baby, I know you're growing up, I know you want to be your own man, but at the end of the day, no matter what happens, no matter how old you are, no matter you're 16, 17, 18, 19, no matter if you're even an old man, I love you forever." And she used to hold him in his hands and rock him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and say, "Baby, no matter what happens, I love you always. I like you always. No matter what happens, my baby you will be." 5 years passed. In fact, 10 years passed. And the teenager who was messy and noisy became an old man. Became a young adult, in fact. He started working, and somewhere along the line, he took a house at the other end of town. The mom used to miss him. Really, really miss him. But she couldn't do anything about it. The boy got married and had a beautiful wife who he wanted to spend the most of his time with. But on really, really dark nights, when the mom didn't have anyone to accompany her, she used to get into the car, switch on the ignition, and go meet her young adult boy who didn't really have time for her. And she understood that. She had lost someone who was really close to her, and the loss of this young adult was something that she'd accepted as a reality in her life. And she used to drive to the house, But 4 times she used to drive to the house and she used to turn back without even informing the guy that she was outside because she didn't want to interfere in the kid's life. But when it got really, really heavy and she saw that the lights were switched off, she used to tiptoe in, walk to the adult's room, and when he was really, really tired, she used to kiss him on his forehead and say, "Sweetheart, I love you for always. I like you for always. No matter what happens, my baby you will be." Time passed, 5 years went down the road. Now this woman was getting really, really weak. She couldn't start the car, she couldn't go out and travel on her own. So one day, in the midst of that depression, she didn't have her husband. This was a very difficult time for her. She called the boy up, and this was again her sweetheart. He was always going to be her sweetheart. She called the boy up and said, "Sweetheart, I'm really not feeling well. I can't come to you today. You better come to me." And the boy obediently started his car, made his way towards the house. And just as he entered the room, the mother, first thing when she saw him, "Sweetheart, I love you forever. I like you for always. I'm sorry I can't continue anymore." And then the boy stepped forward and he realized what his mother had done for him. He took the mother in his arms, rocked her back and forth, and said, "I love you forever. I like you for always. As long as I'm living, my mommy you will be." And that day the man realized something, that we spend our lives just as he had spent his life, without realizing what was important to him. And that day, for the first time in his life, when he went home, he thought a lot in the garage, but when he stepped inside, he went to his little daughter's room, who had been born very, very recently. He held that daughter in his arms and said, "I love you forever. I like you always. No matter what happens, my baby will be." Over to you.